Hi, my name is Elijah Kreiss. I work for the Truckee Times, and today we did a story on the Tahoe Truckee dump. I met with Ryan, who's the operations manager, and here's what he has to say.
Hi, my name is Ryan Collins. I'm with Eastern Regional Landfill, actually on site today, and I work with the team at TTSD and ERL in the collection and management and processing of the community's solid waste.
I asked Ryan what some of the biggest challenges the dump faces and asked him if he's dealt with any catastrophes at the dump. And he said one of the biggest issues that they have is fire prevention and control.
Fires are just increasing. The lithium-ion battery is our greatest nemesis. A lot of this is because people, I think they've got, they're buying Juuls and e-cigarettes and all these kind of things, e-bikes. People are throwing these away. They're not realizing that unfortunately they cause a lot of fires.
He then took us for a tour inside the actual sorting facility.
Here you'll see our mixed waste stream. This is probably familiar to you, just normal trash. And you can see we're receiving everything from the community. Look, we've even got some buoys. It's that time of year, right?
He spoke briefly on the current events changing the trash composition in our community.
4th of July, this whole building will be full up, right? We've got no more room in here. We're running overtime Saturdays. We're trying to process everything as best we can. There's never a point when we send anything directly to landfill. We're always sorting it.
As he was talking, I noticed these large spigots of water spraying mist all over the trash, and I asked him what these were used for.
Part of that safety strategy is trying to atomize as much of the dust in the building as possible. So we do have a sprinkler system these actually aren't sprinklers, they're misters. So the building, of course, has a fire suppression sprinkler system, totally necessary with lithium ion, right? But the actual misters just help us to reduce dust. We also run a sweeping operation. We run electromagnet across the site all day long just to try to pick up dust and control it, because this is a really dusty environment.
It turns out that all your aluminum soda cans and tins get compacted into bales that look like this. We then walked around the facility where we went to a machine called the baler where these materials are compacted. While we were walking, he described to me what exactly his facility did.
Recycling facilities like us, MRFs like us, we're really just sorting facilities. We're not producing something with the material, right? So we're like a mine. We're not making the jewelry, right? We're just mining the gold. So there has to be someone willing to take the material. And that's a really important point. It's a market economy. Recycling is very market driven. We see a lot of focus on facilities like us. It's clear that, the legislature doesn't really understand this nuance sometimes, because there's a lot of legislation that's focused on governing us, but not on producing markets in which material can travel to.
What he was explaining in saying this is that when you throw something in the trash and it's recycled, they take all the materials that they can out of that and resell it to companies that'll use it for other products. But even if they're not able to resell it, they'll still recycle your materials. We then walked over to a conveyor belt where people were sorting pieces of cardboard.
This actually serves as a quality control line. In fact, you can see the outgrowths, the stuff that our brokers don't want coming up from here. So it's almost like we're sorting it twice.
After this, he led us upstairs to the sorting line, which was one of the most interesting parts of this trip. Ryan seemed to be friends with everyone up there. He was greeting everyone we saw. Everyone is assigned certain materials to pull off the conveyor belt. Like, if your job was to pull out thick blue plastics, you would grab thick blue plastics off the conveyor belt and throw them into a specific pile. Those piles ended up in bins like this. He talked to us about how this was only the first level of sorting, and after this, each bin would be separated into more specific materials.
So some of this material will actually go and be processed again. So because we don't have the room for it, for example, this bin right here is metal, wood, and large construction and demolition material. This actually goes to our back line, which is more calibrated for that type of material, and sorted again.
We asked him how many people are usually running the building at one time.
50 to 60 people that work in this building.
We then talked about how the current labor shortage has affected his business.
Possibly impacted by the labor shortage, both on routes and here. We're still being impacted. Our starting wage for sorters is $20 an hour. And that makes sense. But I also wanted to mention, Celine, thank you for mentioning, the human side. We also really do, our family business philosophy is about taking care of of families here, taking care of the people that work here. We consider them to be part of our family. So every person that you see on this line, whether they speak English or not, or have any level of education, they'll expect the same benefits that the owner of the company has. They'll have a 401k plan, full health for them and their family, profit sharing. We're one of the last companies to provide profit sharing, very generous profit sharing that feeds into their 401k. In addition to some fringe benefits, like we put a lot of things in place to help the labor shortage as our community gentrifies, which include a van pool program, company-sponsored vans that go across the Reno-Tahoe corridor to bring people back to work as they're frankly displaced from their local homes.
We then went back downstairs to talk a little bit about cardboard.
If you look at, here's your classic Amazon box. One of the most recyclable materials ever. I mean, well, in their industry, it's fantastic. But here's the thing. The devil's in the details. So what they do at the processing processing facility after this, right? Is what they're really looking for is this. You know why?
Why?
It's because the fiber length is really long. And the fiber is all about the length of the fiber is really what determines how recyclable something is.
Okay.
In terms of cardboard and paper. So this right here can be broken down and made into a pulp really easily.
They also talked about why some other types of boxes and recyclables aren't always recyclable.
Cereal is another great example.
Right.
Not recyclable. Can't do it. Shouldn't put it in the bin.
We then spent a little bit of time discussing the complexity of the trash delivery.
The sticker price on a normal garbage truck is $600,000.
Are you kidding?
Not kidding. So it's basically, and 3.5 miles to the gallon too. So you're talking about, and in this area, very challenging to operate. Like we have a single person. Their full-time job is just rebuilding chain sets for trucks so that we can operate in the snow. That's it. There's a full-time job right there.
There was a lot going on inside, so we decided to step outside to talk more. I spoke with a representative from Placer County who described to me the complexity of the legislature behind trash and recycling.
And so to make laws that are going to be uniformly applied through this across this very diverse state is nearly impossible. So they need to be very complicated, or you need to have a lot of flexibility for jurisdictions and for companies to come in and say, I'm meeting the goal of your rule, but I need to have flexibility in how you told me to get there.
One of the cool things about this plastic, you might wonder, so this is a PET, right? Why would you use why wouldn't you just use one plastic?
Sure.
It's actually because of the density of the walls. So HDPE2 is a little bit more porous than PET.
Oh,
PET is highly dense, really not very porous.
Okay.
In fact, it actually can keep gas locked in, whereas HDPE2 cannot. So that's why you see, what is a more viscous, right, a substance material going in? Oil, laundry detergent, right? Far more viscosity than water, Sprite, whatever.
Sure.
So that's why manufacturers use different products, and this is cheaper for them to produce because it's more porous. They're not as much material, of course. So anyway, just a little.
There had always been a certain level of confusion on what to do with batteries after we were done using them, so I asked Ryan.
We just ask that you put them in a Ziploc bag so we can see what they are. We can just see exactly that those are batteries.
Yeah, sure.
Stick them right on top of your trash can lid.
We then went inside for a little bit to finish up our interview. As Truckie's population is growing like crazy, is the facility having to adapt to that, and then what are you guys doing to adapt for that?
Yeah, so we have, as I mentioned before, because a lot of the community, second homeowners, right, we've got transient population.
Right.
Our trash flow, our inflow is very unpredictable.
Right.
It's actually, I shouldn't say unpredictable, it's just very variable. And
Seasonal.
it's seasonal and predictable around certain times of the year. So
Ryan also wanted to give a couple PSAs to the public.
please don't crush your cans. Another thing people don't realize, you don't have to rinse your recyclables for us.
Yeah.
All you have to do, please just scrape them out for us. So please don't waste the water. We don't want you to waste the water. We care about the water just as much as you do.
Right.
We're in a drought. Don't need to sit there at the sink, rinse it, sell it, put it in your recycling bin. Now, I will say, there's a small caveat there. If you're putting your carts out and a bear starts to realize you got a peanut butter jar, it's got peanut butter in there.
Right.
For bears, that could be a more nuanced conversation.
Sure.
But for recycling.
But for recyclables, it doesn't matter to us. The only thing that matters is that the food is removed and scraped out. You can, and by the way, you know, if you go on that line during normal hours, you'll see people doing this to tin cans. Cat food, my God, I don't know why people throw it away full.
Yeah.
We're just like knocking out cat food
Oh, it
all day long.
stinks too.
I love learning about the dump and had so much fun talking to Ryan and all his associates. I encourage anybody who can to go and take a tour of the dump and also listen to what Ryan had said about trash management. Thank you so much for watching.